guys, it's Billy from Sweetie Darling, and this week I want to do a more in-depth tutorial on the ProFroster. I get asked a lot of questions about it. I know the makers get asked a lot of questions about it. I have done a couple of videos before, but this one is just about the ProFroster. It's sort of a troubleshooting one. So all the questions I've been sent and they've been sent, I'm hoping to be able to answer in this video. Now I will start by saying that I found the ProFroster on Instagram and was interested in it when I saw other people's results from it. So I got one and fell in love with it immediately. It's just my favourite product, and I have since said if I was stuck on a cake desert island, that would be the product that I would choose to take because it makes such a huge difference. So I know many people absolutely love the ProFroster as well. I think as of now there are over 1,000 posts on Instagram of people using the ProFroster and loving it. Now first things first, before you can even get started, you have to put the ProFroster together. So it comes in two pieces like this. I have the blue one, they also do a pink one. So there are two separate parts. On this part, it has the word ProFroster embossed in it. So that way up, and then there are 3 notches on the back of it, and then there are notches on this big strip of plastic here for you to set the height of the ProFroster. And then what you want to do is always come from the top of the ProFroster, just open the bulldog clip and slide down, and then you can adjust the height to whatever you want. What you don't want to do is open the bulldog clip and slide it on from the side. It's too wide to do it, and you are likely to snap it if you come in from the side. So always from the top, open the bulldog clip, slide it down, and you can set it to whatever height you want. And if you need to change the height, just open the bulldog clip and then slide it up and down to, again, wherever you want it to be. Now you can use the ProFroster with whichever covering you prefer. So in this video, I'm using it with white chocolate ganache and dark chocolate ganache. I also have a video on using it with buttercream, which I will link to underneath this video. The video with the buttercream is actually the first time I ever used the ProFroster. It was literally, I got it out of the box and I used it on that cake. So that was my initial reaction of the ProFroster, if you're interested in seeing it. It can be used on round cakes and square cakes. So all my cakes that I'm using today will be round, but I also have another video on how to use the ProFroster on square cakes, and I will link to that one underneath this video as well. So hopefully we're covering all areas here. Now I'm about to get into actually showing you the cakes, but I also want to let you know it can be used on all sizes of cakes. Now I know it's a question that's raised that this is the size of the top part of it. So people wonder how you do a very large cake or a very small cake, and I will show you. I've got a 7-inch, a 9-inch and an 11-inch here. I normally do 6, 8, 10 and 12 inches with it. This is just an unusual in-between size wedding cake, but this literally works on every size cake that I want to do. Now before I start using the ProFroster, I always have my cake, I stack it up with my buttercream or whatever filling I'm using, and I get a crumb coat on it just with a palette knife. So whether that's buttercream or ganache, I will always do a crumb coat so I've sealed in my cake before I start using the ProFroster. So this is where we'll jump into the cake. So I'm starting with a cake here that's got white chocolate ganache on it, and I need to add a second crumb coat to it because I've already done my initial thin one, and it's this second one that I will then scrape off with the ProFroster to start leaving nice sharp edges. I had a question not that long ago of someone saying the ProFroster doesn't match the height of my cake. Whichever notch I set it to is either underneath the height of my cake or it's over the height of my cake. Now that is part of the point of the ProFroster. It is there to get you meticulously sharp edges, but it is also there to ensure that if you're doing a stack cake, every single one of them is exactly the same height. And hopefully this will explain why. So here I've got my cake. Obviously I can't set the ProFroster underneath the height of the cake because I'm then going to be scraping all the topping away and start digging into the cake. So I have to come one above. And if I do this height for all of my other cakes, every single one of them is going to come out perfectly level. They'll all be the same height as each other, and when the cake is put together, the overall look and finish of it is much more professional. So I'll set my ProFroster at the notch above the height of my cake, and then I make up that height with ganache or buttercream, whatever I'm using. So I'm going to do a thick layer of ganache around the cake, around the sides of the cake and on top of the cake. Now the technique for holding the ProFroster is to hold it really nice and flat at the bottom. You want this on your work surface, whatever you're working on, and as long as you hold this nice and flat on the surface and you scrape it around like that, it's going to pull into the top of the ganache here, and it's going to leave you with a really nice sharp corner. So I scrape around in sections. If I have too much ganache build up on my ProFroster, I'll scrape that off back into the bowl. And I know I've seen some people go around in one go. I think that's if they've got quite soft coatings on their cake. If you find it easier to go around in one go, then by all means do. Everyone's going to have their own method. I definitely prefer doing shorter sections sections with this and just keep going around repeatedly until everything's sharpened off. I'd say the most common question I get about the ProFroster is a little divot that it will leave in the middle of the cake. So just this end section here will divot into the center of the cake, or wherever that you're spreading it around, wherever this bit lands will leave a little divot in the ganache there. Now I did address this in my first ever video. I said, well, it's leaving a little divot in there, but that's fine, I'll just cover it over with ganache. And that is all you need to do. Is the ProFroster is to get your sides dead straight, it's to get your corners really sharp, and to get all your cakes exactly the same height. Just that little divot bit, all you do is just spread some ganache or buttercream over it and it fills it in no problem. It makes no difference to how your cake ice is at all. It's literally just that little bit you fill in. It does not overshadow what the ProFroster does at all. It's never been anything that I've been like, for God's sake, I wish it didn't do that. It's just, I sharpen everything off and then I just come back over the top. It's literally a matter of seconds after you've used the ProFroster and it is perfect. Now this really goes the same if you're using a very big cake and you are sharpening the edges and evening out the sides, and then you might have a pile of ganache or something in the middle. You only need to scrape over that and scrape it away to leave it level with the parts that the ProFroster has evened off for you. Your cake would have to be really big for that to be a noticeable problem, because this is a 5-inch arm here, so it automatically will go center to outside on a 10-inch cake. I very often do 12-inch cakes with it, and then it's just a couple of inches in the middle that I'll just smooth over with a palette knife. Likewise, if you're using a much smaller cake and the ProFroster arm is too long for it, you're only concentrating really on what it's doing for the sides and the edges of the cake. The only bit I care about is this bit here. I'm not worried about what's going on down here at all. This bit is the important bit. Everything in the middle I can sort out with a palette knife. What's going on with the corners and the perfectly level sides and the perfectly even height cakes, I can't do on my own with a palette knife, so that's where this comes in. So whether it's a cake that's much larger than this arm or much smaller than this arm, it doesn't matter. All those edges, sides and corners will be the same, and any middle divot or excess ganache I can sort out with a palette knife. Now if you are scraping around your cake with a ProFroster and you find that your sides aren't even, maybe there's a big divot into the side of the cake where the ProFroster's missed whatever it's going past, that is just because there isn't enough ganache or buttercream there. So if you're going around and you're finding there are patches that are sort of indented, you need to spread more ganache or buttercream on and come back round with the ProFroster to smooth it over. And once you've covered all those bits, it will be perfectly straight and smooth the entire way round. If you need a super smooth cake and you don't want any takeoff lines on it, you can use a palette knife with hot water and just run around the cake, and that will melt just the very surface of it and get rid of any takeoff marks or little feathery bits that you might have. I've tried to squeeze as much in as I can there, as many of the questions as I can, with hopefully the right visuals to go with it. I've tried to do every single troubleshooting technique on these cakes as I could think of. But if there's anything you feel like I've missed, or if there's a burning question that I haven't answered, leave it in the comments below. I will reply to you and answer it there. But hopefully this is the bulk of it covered. Now I'm going to add in a little personal note about the ProFroster, because this isn't made by some corporate giant. This is made by a woman who has seen a need for this kind of product. I mean, I've been cake decorating for 10 years. I only saw and got the ProFroster in April, so 6 months ago, and it has changed my cakes dramatically, and the time it takes me to make them has halved, more than halved. It's so much quicker, it's so much easier, and my cakes have really been taken up a level because everything is now the same height. When I'm doing a wedding cake, all my sides are nice and straight, my edges are nice and sharp. It's just made it so much easier, and the fact that it is a small business makes me feel really happy. Again, if you follow me on Instagram, you will have seen that I do like to support small businesses who are making awesome cake decorating products to help us all, and this is a small business. If you ask them questions, they come back to you, and it's very personable and friendly, and that for me is huge. I really rate that. I'm hoping you all know me enough by now to know that I wouldn't recommend a rubbish product. There is no way, especially not as hard as I recommend this. I've gone really hard with the ProFroster since I've had it. I've just loved it. So I've raved about it on Instagram, I've raved about it in my YouTube videos. If this didn't work for me and hundreds of other people on Instagram, there is no way I would dedicate an entire video to this, because I do not want you lot to hate me. Now, if this has satisfied any questions or it's convinced you that you would like to get one, I'm going to leave links to the ProFroster website where you can get it in the US, and Chrissy Cakes and Supplies, who is is the UK stockist. I'm going to leave links to both of their sites underneath this video so you can go there and have a look yourselves. If you are elsewhere in the world, I'm pretty sure both of them ship internationally. I don't know what the shipping rates are like or anything like that, so you have to look into it. But I feel that this video has explained it enough. I couldn't recommend the ProFroster more if you are struggling with getting sharp corners and nice straight sides. And if you want to see results from loads of different people, go on Instagram, search #ProFroster, and as of now there are 1,054 posts on the ProFroster. Let me show you. So they're all people with very nice sharp edges on their cakes. And you can't have 1,004 cakes made with something if it's not super duper good. So have a look for yourself, and as I've said several times, do let me know if you have any questions at all. I really hope you enjoyed the video. I do hope it's helpful. As always, if you're baking or cake decorating, or you've got a ProFroster, if you have one, you're using one, you're just doing general cake decorating, make sure you take photos, upload them to Instagram, use #YesDarling, and I will give you a shout out in my stories on Monday. I hope you all have an amazing week, and I will see you next Monday.